All right. Well, welcome everybody. So great to have you. Pete, I'll let you kick us off.
Yeah,
One
let
second,
me.
you can see. Can you see my
Thank,
screen okay?
yep. See the screen. I can see it anyway. Hopefully, everybody else can. Let me add my welcome as well to everybody. It's. Thank you very much for taking time out of your late morning, early afternoon, your lunchtime, for those here in Minnesota to sit and visit with us. And that's really what we hope this becomes. Jill and I are going to talk at you for hopefully 10, 15 minutes at most, and then have a chance to talk about or answer any questions you have and just have a dialogue. And what we're really talking about is the updated strategic plan that the board approved. And we, both board and staff, are really excited about this updated plan, and we're really looking forward to sharing it with you and rolling it out publicly here. You know, as I think about the strategic plan, and you know, one question might be, well, why did you need to do a new strategic plan? And that's a fair question, because as you think about over the last 10 plus years, led by Jeff and other board members and Jill and other staff members, OEP has been doing great work partnering with our donors and our communities to facilitate community-led change in our partnered communities, and it's really been going well. We've been very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish. However, there is so much more we can do. As you think about it, there is so much potential throughout Sierra Leone. However, 64% of the population still lives in multi-dimensional poverty. So when the board and staff sat down for our strategic planning session, we really wanted to build off the last 10 plus years of success, that great foundation that had been created. But what we wanted to do was really think aspirationally, to dream big. What could things look like 7 to 10 years from now? What could One Village partners look like, and the partnered communities look like, in a way so far out that we can't even say here are the actual steps. We can't tell you all the actual steps that we're going to get there. So really dream big and think aspirationally, and yet still do it in a way that is tied to the foundation that's been set over the last 10 plus years and is still very realistic. So when we started that work, we can flip to that next slide, Jill. When we started the work, what we really were looking at was we wanted to tweak the mission vision, because back in my old corporate days, you know, as you were looking at a strategy update, you always wanted to take a look at mission, vision, and then strategy. And so that's what the board and staff did. Was we started with our mission statement and tweaked it a little bit. It's not dramatically different, but tweaked it a little bit so that the new mission statement is that the mission of One Village Partner is to enhance collective well-being across Sierra Leone by investing in people and communities through partnership. So there's a lot packed into that one sentence, and I'm not going to steal Jill's thunder in terms of the strategy, because all these tie together, but just a few things to think about as you think about that mission statement, or at least 3 things that really stand out for me. One is that phrase, across Sierra Leone, because we've gone beyond talking about just the communities that we're in, and we're now talking about across Sierra Leone. So we're thinking about that broadening, that expansion of our work, but we're also limiting it to Sierra Leone. For me, a key phrase, you see the investing in communities, but investing in people. So how are we helping people to help themselves? So instead of project-based, how are we really engaging with people to put them in a position where they can take charge and do all that great work and reach their full potential? And then the phrase partnerships, and I'll just say that, and Joe can talk about that further. And then the vision statement, really setting forth the vision of what we want to achieve. We envision a future where Sierra Leoneans amplify their collective power to lead transformational change in their country. And for me, again, there's a lot packed into that one sentence, but as you think about it, really at the heart of that is our commitment to being community-led. This is about us simply facilitating people in Sierra Leone to amplify their collective power, and they're the ones that are leading the change and impacting their communities. So really staying true to that model of community-led is a key takeaway from that vision statement. So let me turn it over to Jill, where she could talk about the strategic pillars, and then we could turn it over to all of you for some questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. So, drum roll. So what this means is that we are going to expand our presence across all of rural Sierra Leone. And this is a really big goal. It is bold, it is scary, but it is also the right time. And we are so excited about this. And there are a few different ways that we're going to do this. And so those of you who are really familiar with our model, we have traditionally started at the community level, and our programs have been really intensive at that facilitation and community level support. We are going to continue doing that. We are going to expand our work, our community action program, our nurturing opportunities for women program, and our lead program to best accommodate the specific interests and needs of new community partners. And we will take this to additional districts outside of where we currently work in Kailaun. But alongside that, there is so much value in connecting and engaging on a larger level and on a higher level than the community level. So while we will continue that, and that will be a cornerstone of our work, we are also going to build a national network of engaged community volunteers. So working then throughout rural Sierra Leone to bring change agents and volunteers together that are creating change and leading in their own communities so they can network and learn from one another. Alongside this, we will be partnering with other organizations, civil society groups, gender advocates, or other stakeholders that are working toward the same goals, because we know we can't do it all. And what we really need is a supportive network of engaged participants, communities, organizations across the country that can work toward achieving these goals. So what will partnership mean? It could be we provide funding. It could mean we provide technical support. It could be connecting these gender advocates with one another. We don't know yet, but I think the important piece is that we will ask, what do these groups need and how can we best partner with them so that we can all be successful and effective in our work? And in order to effectively achieve all of this, we are going to establish a presence in Freetown, in the capital, not for programmatic work, but to be able to increase our profile in the country and our partnership opportunities. So we can increase our advocacy and thought leadership work nationally by being in proximity to the capital and where a lot of other organizations are located. Whereas, as you know, we are located out in the rural areas where we work. So that's another key piece of our expansion. Our goals, these are also big and ambitious and so exciting. So we are going to hold ourselves accountable with rigorous monitoring and evaluation. We're going to adapt as necessary to ensure our work remains equitable and inclusive. And we have a handful of goals that we have already set forth, and I'm sharing just a few of them with you here. We will implement 100 community development projects by 2027. We will have 1,000 now participants with $100,000 in collective savings so that women can really lead their futures and lead change in their communities and have the resources to do so. And 75% of community members in the areas where we work will achieve a significant, sustained, and measurable reduction in multidimensional poverty by 2027. So this is really huge. We are looking not just at the systems change and the ability for women to engage in communities, for communities to work effectively together. But we're also looking at that change in somebody's well-being and ability to access opportunities by being healthy, by having their living standards meet norms and be that they can fulfill their day-to-day dreams and their livelihoods, and that they will have opportunities to have education and pursue education as it is important to them. So in order to achieve all of these very big, ambitious goals, and to effectively expand across Sierra Leone, we have identified 3 pillars that we will pursue in this work. The first is to define and build our evidence base. So we will rigorously track and report our progress to reduce multidimensional poverty while contributing to the evidence-based practice and research in the broader Sierra Leonean and international development community. To do this, we'll also need to raise our profile and expand our donor base. So we'll deepen and expand our presence across the US to grow awareness and to raise increase in new funding. And we will specifically be strategically growing our US team so that we can really double down on our fundraising and external communication. So this is an important piece because here in the US, we are proximate to donors, to networks of communication, and we can have a louder voice than a lot of our partners in Sierra Leone in the day-to-day. So that will come alongside proximate leadership shifts. So the success of our work over the last 12 years, and then combined with the relationships we've established in Sierra Leone and in the US, gives us the confidence to transition some of our day-to-day and strategic decision-making to Sierra Leone. So we will do this by expanding our board of directors to include Sierra Leoneans outside of the Minneapolis and St. Paul region, which we currently just have a couple. And we will also be looking to hire a Sierra Leonean leader to lead operations and strategy within Sierra Leone. We will continue to prioritize our role as partners and how could we best work together to achieve so much more in partnership than we could single-handedly. So that is all we have for our formal presentation, and I am going to take these slides down so we can move on to Q&A. Any questions, comments,
Hey,
any
Jill,
feedback from this group?
one question I do have is around how the current staff are feeling about this, how they're reacting to it, and even members in the communities that OVP is serving. Have they much knowledge of it and they have much reactions to it?
Yeah, good question. Pete, you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So thanks, Paul. Yeah, our staff in Sierra Leone and our partner communities, everybody is so excited about this. Our staff were so intimately involved in the entire strategic planning process. So everything that you see here is a result of the conversations that they've identified, the opportunities that they've identified to expand our work and really add as much value to the work as possible. So everyone is incredibly excited. There's a lot of energy, I'd say, on the team now for like, okay, now how to let's make this happen. We have these like big ideas, and this vision for the future is something that everybody's really getting behind. And I think it's about like, okay, we need to do this in the right logical steps and to pace things in a way that is going to be sustainable and make the most sense for the organization. So it's, we'll keep that momentum, we'll keep the excitement and momentum going while helping to, make sure we don't go too quickly so that we can do this in a really sustainable and effective way.
Yeah, let me jump on that, Paul. Great question. And you as a board member, I'm sure felt some of the take your breath away in terms of we reached out far enough that you can't say how we're going to get there from here. And staff, as Jill has had her meetings with staff and they've been talking about it, you can't get all the way to the end from where we're at today, but it certainly makes sense, and you can see what are the next steps over the next year or 2 years. So I've been really pleased at the reaction from staff and quite frankly the board, where it's, yeah, we're absolutely behind this. We're not exactly sure how we're going to get there, but we feel good that we are going to get there, and we'll just do this very planfully along the way, and each step will unfold. So it's very exciting, and it's fun that board and staff and now hopefully our donor community are going to be really excited about it.
Well, I'll just jump in here. Thanks very much for all these remarks made so far. And Jeff, I see you're on here with us. My trip with you folks was in 2011. It's certainly one of the finer trips I've been on in my in the 20 or so different trips to developing countries that I've been on with different nonprofits. And I still refer to this map today, even now and then, looking at it and find it pretty fascinating. And obviously, the part of Sierra Leone that OVP has been in is a pretty limited area of the eastern part of the country where Guinea and Liberia come together in some very, very remote regions. What do you see as some of the challenges as you go into other parts of the country as far as different, cultural boundaries or different ways of doing things? Expand on that a little bit if you can.
Yeah, Pete, I can take that one too, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Frank, that's a really good question, and I think that the common thread between what we do now and then how we will expand is really that our work is owned at the local level and our staff are from the local area, speak the local language, and can help to navigate all of the challenges that we might come across that for you and me might just be like seeing the tip of the iceberg of what, the whole challenge or cultural consideration might be. And so that will continue to be really core to the work that we do. As we expand into new districts, we will be expanding into areas where people might speak a different language than currently where we're working in Mende communities. And it will be so incredibly important that our staff are from and familiar with the local area, speak the local language, and are helping to coordinate and adapt as necessary to make sure that our work is still effective. So I guess that's kind of a short answer to a really big question. So we have a lot to learn, but we will continue to be true to our values and the way that we operate and being really community led and community owned. And I think that is going to be the #1 key to success in this.
Other questions?
Amelia's got her hand up.
I always have my hand up. Hello. Good morning or afternoon, and thank you, Jill and Pete, for the presentation. So I know that most of the communities that we've worked in has mostly been closer to that Calaon district area, and I know we just have some presence in the new hub in Daru. Are we also now saying or confident that that same word of mouth has spread to other regions within the country, especially for the other rural areas, so they at least know our model and are familiar with what we do and the expectations?
That's another good question. Pete, I'll take the more operational ones.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Pass it to me anyway. So really good question. Actually, Amelia, something that was surprising to me, but also really interesting was that when we opened our first, our second office, so we had our Bunambu office, which we've had for a number of years. We opened the office in Daru, which isn't actually like all that far away, and it's in the same part of the country. But I heard from our team that a lot of people weren't familiar with One Village Partners. So we were starting fresh introductions, and that was a really critical and important piece for our team to recognize. And then also, I think it's so interesting that they were able to make these connections and build relationships so quickly to be effective in a new place. So in some ways, we've already done that. Again, it's every place that we move into will be different, and we're not going to take a cookie cutter approach. It's important to develop relationships and establish those. It's important to work with, local government leaders, traditional authorities, community members, et cetera. But I think, what we've seen with this expansion to Daru, though, is that we can do that pretty quickly. And that there are going to be a lot of people who aren't familiar with our work, but that we're pretty quickly able to get folks up to speed with how our work might look different than other NGOs that they've come into contact with. And people generally get really excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's, going all the way back to Jeff as founder, you think about that relationship that he built and the trust that was built. That's an important part of our model. And I think that recognizing that as we move into new areas, that you got to start with that relationship and that trust building as part of the model is going to be really important for us, and is going to help us be successful as we expand outward. So, it's been something that we've done all along. We do well, and know that we're going to have to continue to do.
Thanks, Pete. Lori, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, first of all, I applaud you guys for taking this audacious step. I think it's an amazing vision, and really, I see it as a very, aligned expansion with Jeff's original vision. So I think it's incredible, and I applaud you for taking it on. What are the one or two things that you're maybe most concerned about that you need to get right, or the biggest challenges that you anticipate encountering as you move ahead?
Another good question. Pete, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll start with that one, and then you can go. From where we're at, one of the biggest challenges is going to be raising funds. We can just put it right on the table and call a spade. The work that we do, the partnerisms that we have, require funding, and we've successfully grown over the years. We've had a couple of years in a row where we've been at the $1 million level. We need to expand that fivefold, tenfold to really be able to do the work that we're doing. So, I think that's one challenge that we have. The rest of the challenges, I think it's just taking the model and really executing against what we have. It's how do you build trust? How do you build relationships? And how do you just continue to expand? But you got to start with, in order to do that, it requires money, and the money is not going to come from Sierra Leone. The money is going to come from places like the United States and other countries that have a higher degree of wealth.
Yeah, I will second and double down on Pete's comment. So this is, as you know, this is a really ambitious plan, and it is bold, and it's going to require a lot. And so what we are estimating is that this plan and all of this work over the next 5 years is going to cost about $15 million. So as you see, this is exponential growth from where we have been, but it's also very achievable growth for where we've been, because we've proven so much of our model. We're disciplined, we have results to scale up. And so we're hopeful that donors and new individuals and institutions and all new folks in our network will be really, really excited about what we're moving toward and building toward. And we will be growing that, from where we are today to, ramping up over time to hopefully around $5 million per year in revenue by 2027. So we're going to tackle this the best that we can, though it is definitely an area of risk, right? Because we need to make it happen if we want this expansion to be successful and effective. The other point, I could say a few different areas that are, I think, potential challenges, right? And hopefully by thinking through all of them, we're really mitigating the path through them so that they won't end up being huge challenges in the future. But I think, we are going to need to pay a lot of attention as we grow to maintaining the culture and the way that we work and the relationships that we have among staff. And we already saw with opening an office in Daru, it requires us to think new ways about how we engage with our team and create a culture of one village partners, and not like the Daru culture and the Bunanbu culture. Because it's so important for us to work together and to learn with one another and to be moving in the same direction. So I think just making sure that we're really paying attention and being intentional about how we're growing, as we grow, how we're bringing the team together, and staying zipped up and in alignment on this really, rigorous growth path, so that we're, everybody's moving in the same direction. So I know it's a little bit vague, but I think, just making sure lots of communication, lots of convening, and lots of ensuring we're collectively working together as a team.
Frank?
I'll just chime in. Great job on this annual report. I think for any organization, as you grow, just about anybody interested in funding at a higher level, I think probably obviously they'll want to say, let me look at your website, but most everybody, I think the number one thing would be they want to look at your annual report. They want to see how good it is. If it's very well put together visually. I agree with you listing all of your donors in there. I think a lot of potential donors really want to see it. When you get right down to it, they want to see where your funding's coming from specifically and what avenues you're getting it through, and even though maybe some people aren't thrilled about being shown in an annual report, there are loads of us that have absolutely no problem with that at all, and view it as a great way to have organizations talk about where they're getting their money from, and showing that you have a lot of different donors of different types is very, very good. And you got great visuals in there and good descriptions of what you're doing. How about the, certainly organizations that I know of, like Alight, for instance, as they've grown, they've gotten a lot of their funding from USAID and from various UN agencies. Is that a way forward that you see, or do you continue to see a lot of your money coming from private foundations and companies and donors big and small?
Yeah. Really good question, Frank. So our activities right now are not inclusive of pursuing with a whole lot of strength US government and other government funding. However, there's a big caveat to that, and that is that there are relationships within Sierra Leone that we have and will continue to build that could potentially lead to partnership in those areas. So as we're pursuing this growth, I think, we're looking at potential institutional partners, different foundations that are, broader globally, working globally, not just in Minnesota or not just in the US. So that's really where we're going to focus and where we're trying to raise our profile and presence in greater strength, but that we wouldn't rule that out. But I think that those institutional, or the bigger the government funding, the UN funding would come from relationships within Sierra Leone. Holly, it looks like you have your hand up.
Hi, thanks for hosting this. My name is Holly Baumgart, and I'm from Feeding Mouths, Filling Minds, which is another nonprofit organization that's on the ground in Sierra Leone. And I know we've talked with you guys in the past, and super excited to hear about your expansion. We're located up more on the northwest side in the Koinadugu district. And yeah, we were just curious, what kinds of things would you be looking for from other partnerships with other nonprofits that are maybe situated in a different region that you're looking to enter? And, if we can be of any service to you, since we've been there for probably over 5 years, we're always available to reconnect on that.
Yeah, thanks, Holly, and would love to connect with you offline as well. So in terms of partnership, we cannot do this alone. We absolutely will be seeking many partnerships at many different levels as we grow throughout the country. And so one of the ways, that I had mentioned is that finding organizations that are working toward similar goals and helping to support them or partner with them in ways that are meaningful and can help us both be stronger together. So we can talk more also about the sort of work that you're doing and what your, the longer term results you're moving toward. And if, when there's alignment, we want to do everything we can to help. And we are very transparent and open with our materials, our learning, what we're learning along the way, and we'll continue to share that. So, so that is one way. But the other way, I think, is just getting creative, and not just staying in a rigid box around we have this one program and this is how we do things and this is the one way we engage. But I think as we grow and as we have a presence in new areas, I think there's a lot more space for just kind of sitting down with organizations and getting creative. What can we do together? What would that look like? What do community partners, the new communities that we're working in, what do they want to achieve? And could we do more together to help them to achieve those things and create that platform for them to move forward? So I think, I think just a lot more openness to those sort of conversations and continuing those conversations, it'll be a necessary means for our expansion.
Cool.
And how do we each build off the trust and relationship that we have in each of our areas already and help each other with that kind of expansion and building from that is another interesting way of partnering together.
For sure. Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, yeah, happy to connect offline.
Great. So we are actually at time. This flies by when we have the 30 minutes. So I just want to thank everybody so much for joining today, for your questions, for your engagement, for supporting One Village Partners. Please stay connected with us. on all of the regular social media channels, or get in touch. We've got email address up here, website, etc. So thank you all. Welcome your questions and any additional feedback or comments that you might have after this, by email or phone or however you want to communicate. So appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.